Right, well, welcome everyone to the Koochiching County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, November 26th, 2024. Would you please help me open with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everyone. Welcome. First order of business under county business is to approve the proposed agenda with additions and or deletions. We do have one addition, safe and secure grant for the courtroom area. That just was announced yesterday, I believe. So we're going to consider that as item number A7, we'll put it, as the addition. So I would accept a motion to accept the agenda with that one addition.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre today. Next up is to approve the minutes from the November 12th, 2024 regular meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion on the minutes? That's okay. Hearing no discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. And next up under financial business, we have to item A, approve courthouse claims. Item B, approve highway claims. Item C, approve public health and human services claims. And item D, approve warrant voids. Chair would accept a motion on items A, B, and C, and we'll do the voids separate.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion on the claims? Questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is to approve warrant voids. There are 3 of them, one for $75, one for $87,000, $118.06, and another void for $90,718.49. One of them is return the cleaning deposit, which was part of our last meeting. We kind of knew about that. The void here was a loss after the next one for the $87,118.06 was a lost warrant. The affidavit is on file. And the other one is proof void issued by the auditor treasurer. The amount of $90,000. It was an attempted fraud on that one, stopped by Bremer Bank, and the sheriff reported that. So thank you to Bremer Bank for their fraud prevention. So those are the voids.
How does the attempted fraud happen? I mean, is there paper checks?
Yeah, paper check.
Did they get intercepted in the mail?
I believe that's what happened at this one. It got intercepted and tried to be cashed by someone that it wasn't written to.
Yeah, they actually altered the document. We were alerted by Bremer Bank that they had found it for sale on the dark web, and then they make copies and they change the payee, and they actually tried to cash that. But our positive pay system works very well in comparing the payee names to prevent that type of stuff.
Thank you.
Did they? Whose responsibility to follow up on that? Is that our sheriff's department or?
We had to file a sheriff's report, but Bremer's fraud detection team follows up on that. It's up to Bremer to pursue, or if Bremer passes it on to the bank that cashed the check.
I'm just wondering, because there's so much mail that how this one gets plucked by whatever person. They must be watching for something like that. Watching certain contractors, or was it I assume it was going to a contractor.
Yeah, for the jail project, correct.
Will we file local charges, you said, or would that just goes through
We
the
did
fraud?
file a report.
We did file a report, okay.
But they have the person on camera trying to cash it.
I don't know. I'm assuming they didn't cash it locally. They probably just mailed it in or dropped it in a deposit. Assuming it's a fake name, fake account somehow.
Any further questions for Joe?
Would we be better off to require electronic transfers? Would that be safer?
Joel, do we have an option to go completely paperless with our payments?
I don't know, we've brought it up before, there's very few that we do. I think it would perhaps be at the discretion of the board. I'm not sure, that would be a good question for Margaret as to how that would work internally with doing all electronic payments. Good and bad with that also.
I assume you could set a, anything over a certain dollar amount had to be electronically transferred or something. I don't care if they steal $5, but 90,000 is concerning. If it would have got missed,
Well, maybe we can have a little discussion about that electronic payment, and I think other places may require that as their only way of payment, so we can certainly consider that if it would be a benefit, I think, too, because, yeah, if they're digging through the deal or finding these checks somehow,
That's
that's,
something I could check in with our auditors too and see what they recommend, if they have any like draft policies for electronic payment policies.
sure, yep, absolutely, that sounds good. Thank you, Commissioner. Any further discussion? If not, I would accept the motion to approve the warrant votes.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
second.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next item is to consider approval of the 2025 liquor and tobacco licenses. We have quite a list of them here. Annual event. And they have been, applications have been approved by the auditor, attorney, sheriff, and zoning.
We have one not renewing. Very bottom.
Yeah, some other Jewish claims, yeah. Interesting. Chair would accept the motion to accept as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is Callie. Come on up. Is to consider approval of North Koochiching Area Sewer District MPCA grant application. I think we just asked if you'd come back and kind of represent when you got the grant application kind of completed and everything, and it sounds like you're ready to go, and we're just going to serve as a fiscal agent for some I&I rehab in the North Cooch area.
Yes.
Manholes and sewer lines, things like that.
You should have had a copy in your packet. I sent them out, so, and it's due December 5th, so
Okay.
if you approve it today, then we'll start the process.
And they've had a preliminary, everything's been already preliminarily looked at, and where you're going to go and what you're going to do and all that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Explains it in pretty good detail in the grant.
So the pass-through grant to do some I&I improvements through North Beach. Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. Any discussion? Anything further to add?
No.
We're good to go? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
Perfect.
Thank you, good day, Ally.
Thank you.
Next item is to authorize North County Counseling to submit a proposal for state bonding funds and the county to act as fiscal agents. Good morning.
Good morning.
And you're going to look for a kind of a grant application for a re-roof?
Yes, so
Okay.
it's very similar to what we've requested previously. So there's some state bonding funds available to the Department of Human Services. We've previously applied and successfully received about $5 million through this kind of same chunk of money. There's some money left over, and so they are opening it up for the same purposes. And so what we found out when we moved into our new facility is that we need a new roof, and that wasn't something that was projected to be needed for like a 5 to 10 years. And so here we are at year 2 looking to replace the roof. And so we're just basically seeking to partner with the county as a fiscal agent for those funds. Northland Counseling is not eligible unless they're partnered with a public entity or tribal organization. So that's the request. We kind of do the heavy lifting with the grant application, and then I think there's just minor administrative kind of time to be the fiscal agent, but this would help us out a long way to get that roof replaced this summer.
Yes, and thank you for all the work you do too. I know that is a lot of work with the last grant, which has turned out awesome. The building is great, so and
Yes.
really appreciate.
We were thrilled, and this one is much easier since it's a much smaller scope
Right.
of the project.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's an awesome place.
Yeah, we're
So
happy.
very much appreciative of all your work and other folks' work too. Getting just even getting the grants available to be able to do this. So that alone is a lot of work right there. So. But yeah, roofs are important too.
Yes,
Take-
we need
take care.
one. Yeah.
As we found out too, right?
Without
Yeah.
leaking.
Without leaking, yeah. So, and I know Joan's been all aware of what's going on and everything with this too. Yeah.
Yeah, and my one question, would this require participation with Park State Bank again, or would we just have the funds flow through our own Bremer Bank, or?
I believe they can kind of go wherever you would prefer them to go.
Okay.
Yes.
It's simpler if we don't have to have a third party.
Sure. Yes. And this will be, we're still waiting on final numbers with the estimate of between $700 and $750. So, $1,000.
And you're hoping to go out for bids and have it done next summer
The plan will be for the summer, yeah.
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It's a big project, so.
Is there a timeline on the grant awardation?
I can't recall, but that's within the time frame.
Okay.
It can be much larger projects than ours, so I think they've given quite a bit of time. The last one was pretty generous as well with the timeline.
Right. Yep. Yeah, they're pretty good about that too, extending it if you need to. So
Right.
as long as you get going on it. So
Yeah. If we get it done in a couple years, usually they're pretty happy.
yeah. All right. Any further questions? I would accept a motion to authorize North Counseling to submit a proposal, state bonding, and we would be the fiscal agents.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Next up is our addition, the Safe and Secure Grant, which I lost. Is it $29,000-ish?
Yep.
You want a copy?
29,612.50.
Oh, I got it. Hold on. I found it. I buried it in my other stuff here. Yeah. November 25th, 2024, the county received, or someone received communication that we were awarded $29,612.50 from the Minnesota Judicial Safe and Secure Courthouse Grant to add door hardware to the front and back doors of the courthouse, fobs to the probation office, and the second floor stairwell door and replacing the court administration window. It is a 50% matching grant, which we have budgeted for 2025. So. And we have to have a motion to accept this, and certainly appreciate everybody's work on filing this grant. I know it's up in the air for a little while, but we're happy to see it go through. We will have a more secure facility when we get these things installed. So. With that, I would accept a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is complex business and Dean. You want to do some removal,
Yeah.
abatement?
What it is, was contacted by the construction out there, and Shannon's has the new storm sewer brought right up to the building, and they're ready to tie into our existing storm sewer within the building here, located right below us here in the mechanical room. And so in order to do that, we've got some asbestos on some piping down there that needs to be remediated and taken out. And so I was just thinking if we had the guys come in to do that, if we could do the rest of the building as well downstairs in the basement. There's a mishmash of elbows and stuff like that this asbestos is on. I don't think it would be a big deal to do it, but to move all the way through, all the way to the law enforcement center and take care of these areas that have it on it, as long as they're going to be here. So we did get a proposal on doing this, but the proposal included doing the entire scope of asbestos removal, but I don't want to do that at this point in time because it involves removing all the tile in the hallways and stuff. And so I don't want to get into that at this point. All I want to do is do the piping downstairs, and as long as they're here to move through the basement and capture all these areas that have fittings and stuff like that. So, yeah, they're waiting on me actually to give them the go-ahead. They're all ready to tie in. They need to drill a hole through the wall and bring the pipe in and then cut into our existing system to get the stormwater to go that way instead of where it's going now. So right now they've got a makeshift chunk of culvert out here standing on end with the blue hose coming out of it, and that's our storm system right now. I did contact ACCT and I did contact Brian Beiklum of Northeast Service Co-op. They're the ones that gave us the proposal. And on the proposal, it includes the highway department and all that, and we're not doing anything with the highway department, nor are we doing anything with any floorings and stuff like that. It's just to secure the basement, take care of the asbestos down in the basement part of this complex, and in this space that they need to cut the pipe. So I did talk to Steve at ACCT, and he said to do another proposal, he said, I'll just send a guy up and it'll be a time and material basis. And I said, well, that sounds good to me, because to try to reinvent the wheel again, to go through another bid proposal and like that really didn't make any sense. So he didn't think it would take too long. He thought a guy coming up for a day or two or whatever it might be, and they'd be done with it. So Brian Beiklum's part of the proposal is air control and taking care of the air that's in the area when he's doing this, so that it doesn't spill out into the commons areas and stuff like that, to have these fibers and stuff floating through the air. So the two of them would team together. When I talked to him on the phone, I talked to Steve first, and then I talked to Brian, and I told the two to get together and give me a date that would work for us, so that I could relay it on to us, our crew here. So, and that's kind of where it's standing at this point. So,
The portion of the job in the mechanical room will be paid out of the project,
yeah,
and the rest will be paid out of Dean's 2024 budget, is my
Yeah.
understanding. So,
yeah, there's some funding there that we can access through the jail project as well. So.
You have a not to exceed or anything on this, Dean?
No, just a time and material, he said.
That's usually cheaper than.
On this case, I would tend to think it would be,
Than having a bid.
yeah.
Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. So just to clarify, you're just gonna do this building for now?
Correct.
And from here to the law enforcement center, nothing over on the highway?
Right, just the basement.
Just the
There's
basement,
nothing
no
else.
tiles,
Yeah,
no-
just downstairs in the basement.
Okay.
Where the construction is taking place, and then as long as they're here, I'd like them to bump through and capture all these areas that are on some piping corners, elbows and stuff like that, all the way down through, all the way to the law enforcement center in there as well, yeah.
Right.
And there's, you said there's more like in the tile, but that's,
Yeah,
what floors? Because in the basement, there's no tile.
right
It's
up
just
here,
concrete.
all these hallways are all 9-inch.
Okay.
I believe they are 9-inch tile that it contains asbestos and like that, and I said I don't want to
Yeah.
get into that at all at this point in time, so all I'm looking at is the basement where the construction's going
Yep.
on, and then to move on through and grab these areas. There's areas like down the back stairway into the boiler area, those little fittings and stuff that you see on the steam lines that need to be taken off. And then the heat exchangers that are in each one of these buildings, the big long heat exchanger is totally enwrapped with this stuff, so as long as they're here, peel it off and we'll be done with it then.
Good idea.
Otherwise, we're gonna have to keep coming back and forth and back and forth. So,
Right. Any further discussion? We have a first and a second. If there's nothing further, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you, Dean.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, Public Health and Human Services, come on up. How you doing, Derek?
Pretty good, how you guys doing?
Good, good, good. Made it through another year of the orange, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a tough year this year, I can tell you that much. I saw 6 deer all season, so.
Good.
Yeah, lots of tracks in the yard at the library though, when I parked there, a lot of tracks.
Yeah, I gotta say, you just come to my house, you probably got a meal for everybody here, I think.
I went by the other night and there was 3 of them sleeping right out by the flagpole on the grass, laying down in the middle. It was probably 7 o'clock at night and they didn't have a care in the world.
My wife was sending me pictures of our yard with deer in it during deer season.
Which one do you want?
And you're nowhere to be found.
No.
Right, what you got for us today?
All right, first up we have a warrant void, the amount of $30. It was for the Department of Public Safety, is for an identification card, but it wasn't needed through our social welfare funds. So that's the first void.
Great, we'll take them one at a time, and we'll accept. I would accept the motion to approve the void, $30.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
One second.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you.
All right, next thing we have is the acknowledgement of the donation from the Knights of Columbus of 96 winter coats for children and adults. They are kind enough to do this every year, and they're always very well received. We got them a couple weeks ago, and we have very few left, so they're well received by the community. People know we get them. They donate them to our office. We distribute them. It's a great thing for our community. They're very, very nice coats. Has some really good colors this year, too. So people are very happy with them.
Yes, they always do that. That's a great group of people there that are putting
Yeah.
that together, so.
Absolutely.
Sure, appreciate all their efforts. A lot of good stuff that they do too in that other areas. The snow cones in the park are another good thing in the park. But anyway, the jackets are very appropriate, so certainly thank them and I think we would need to
We need to adopt that
a
resolution.
motion to accept that donation.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one on the list is the renewal of our TriMin Systems service agreement. This is the company that provides the computer programming technical assistance for our ACS, or Agency Collection System, as well as our social welfare system for distributing funds. It's a yearly thing that we have to sign with them. So.
$1,700 each.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yes, 1,700 each, so for annual support.
Right. Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. Any discussion? Hearing now, call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
All right, the next one on the list is approval for out-of-state travel for 3 public health staff to attend the emergency preparedness training in San Antonio, Texas. We don't know if this is 100% going to happen or not, just because of timing and stuff, but it's not until April, but we wanted to get approval before they even register, before anything. There are grant dollars, there are CDC grant dollars that will cover the entire cost of this. We've already received the grant. It is an eligible expense for this grant. It's the annual preparedness summit. It's put on by the National Association of County and City Health Officials. This one's really focusing on recovery, pathways to recovery from disasters. As we all know, we've had several public health emergencies in the last handful of years here, between the COVID pandemic, the flooding, everything else. We have fairly new people in some of those roles. This would be a great training and learning opportunity for them if the out-of-state travel is approved by the board. It won't cost the county any dollars. This would all be paid through a grant from the CDC that we already received as a community health board. So.
You have 3 folks, it looks like.
Yep, it would be 3. It would be the supervisor, the emergency preparedness coordinator, and the disease prevention and control nurse would be the 3 that would be attending this.
It looks like it's a week-long deal.
Yeah, April 29th through May 2nd. So.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate that. I mean, we've had, like you say, we've had some pretty bad things happen around here in the last couple of years, that we didn't really have any control over. So
yep.
I think everybody performed admirably and did a great job of all of it, honestly. So considering, kind of flying from the seat of your pants and then getting ready for one, and then the next thing happens, we were kind of all ready for it, and everybody was prepared and knew what to do. So I think it's a good spend of dollars, definitely, and the training and keeping up with all that is extremely important too. So I would accept the motion to accept the out-of-state travel.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion?
Should be a good time of year for them to be in San Antonio. It'll be nice.
Yeah, exactly, and they're hoping it'll be something that they'll be able to work into their schedules, but but if not, it'll be unfortunate. But if they can, we wanted to get this approval going, because you have to start planning for that quite a ways ahead of time for getting everything set up. So,
Yep, absolutely. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you.
thank you. And then the last thing on here is the approval of distribution of opioid settlement dollars to the Juvenile Task Force. We went out for a request for proposals in June. Those closed in the end of August. We received one proposal from the Juvenile Drug Task Force to bring in Tall Cop. It's a training that comes in. He does an assessment of the community, and by the community he's going to do Koochiching County, the gas stations, liquor stores, anything like that, and see what's available over the counter as far as products that could have synthetic opioids in them and things like that. Brings that back. It's a training that would be open to the public, open to specifically targeting schools, law enforcement, social services, things like that. and it's a very good training. One person from the juvenile task force has already attended a training by him. He's quite expensive to bring in. That's why they requested the use of the opioid dollars. It'll be a good thing for our community. We met as the advisory group to discuss this proposal. Thought it was a good fit. They came, the juvenile representatives from the juvenile task force along with the Cape Coalition came in and presented to us on October 30th why they want to bring this training in. After discussion, we decided that it would be a good thing to bring to the county board for your perusal and approval, potential approval. So that's what we're going. Adam, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Nope, I think it's full recommended by the advisory committee, so.
No, that's a good idea. I think it sounds great. Have that assessment, and you'll invite, and of course invite schools and all them. They'll all be invited countywide.
Yep, countywide.
Every law enforcement agency and every school district and all that. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's we made sure we asked them that at when they presented to the advisory committee, and they said yes, it'll be visibility countywide.
So they do random assessments, or they do every place?
From my understanding, he will go into every place in the county.
Every place. Okay.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, well, that's great. And this, you said this will be made available to the public. Is that going to be like a public forum type meeting, or just an informational?
Yeah, it'll be at. I'm guessing they'll probably host it at either the Bacchus Auditorium or the Rainy River Auditorium, where he does his presentation.
Okay.
So.
Well, keep us aware when that happens, and so we can have that on our agenda or something to follow up with. So that's a good plan. It sounds like a good use too.
Yeah, good use of the opioid settlement dollars. We had one good proposal come in, so maybe next year we'll receive some more, so we can get those dollars out to the community and provide different things like this that'll increase awareness and help us better respond to the opioid epidemic that's going on in the country.
Yep, absolutely. Appreciate that. Thanks to the committee. Anything further?
No.
Right. I would accept a motion to approve the distribution of the opioid settlement dollars.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Hi, Nathan.
Good morning.
Still harvesting timber, yes?
Yeah, we had a little lull there in the latter half of October and so far this month, but with the weather that we got forecasted, winter will be off to a good start hopefully. So this is just an informational update. We do this after every timber auction. So we had our last timber auction on November 6th. It was the last one for this year. We sold all the tracts that we offered up were sold. We sold 23,907 cords of timber for a total sale value of $640,000 some odd dollars. So for the year we sold 107,000 cords of timber. We try to target, we do things, our plan is based off of acres, but when you look at it on a, try to convert it back to a cord basis, we try to offer around 100,000 cords, give or take. So we're at our target there. So average prices at the auction a couple weeks ago were down a little bit. Aspen, which is kind of the bellwether, I guess, it's the one that everybody kind of pays the most attention to. Our Aspen average was $33.24 a cord. Our August auction, we were at a little over $35 a cord, so it dropped a little bit, but I think that was just a function of just kind of the way markets were at the time. Kind of everybody had, deliveries stopped at the beginning, later part of October, first part of November, just so they could turn over their yards, get their old inventory cleaned up, get going into winter. So we only had 24 registered bidders at the auction a couple weeks ago, which is down a half a dozen or so from normal. So
You say all tracks?
yep, everything's sold. So
spruce tops, are they still kind of a commodity?
Yeah, they're a hot commodity. We do, so when we sell those, we offer them just one time a year at our May auction is when we sell those. Because
Okay.
it's always the fall of the year, kind of later September through kind of now or, beginning of November when they're actually out there harvesting those. Basically it's decorative arrangement type stuff is what they're doing for the holidays, so yeah, that's a hot commodity right now, so we're trying to get rid of as much of that stuff as we can, so.
They had good weather to take them off.
Yeah, it was a great fall for that. I mean, up until we got that last shot of rain a week and a half ago, it was, because obviously those sites, it's all in spruce swamp, so it was, with the dry conditions we had this fall, it was good for that. The only thing that it does do is those young spruce trees get a needle rust on them. So, and it's not really detrimental to the tree long term, but it takes them a year or two to come out of it. And we did see a lot of sites, especially on the DNR side of things this year, where the harvesters were planning on going to a site, but it was pretty bad with this needle rust, so they would have to, bypass those sites for the year, try to scramble and find something else that didn't have it. So.
Man, I thought the spruce trees in the ditches and the fields, they all looked really good this fall.
Yeah, you get into some of those pure spruce regen sites, and they have that needle rust on them.
How quick does that come on?
I mean, we tend to see it when we have drier summers, so it kind of ebbs and flows. And if we get a good spring and summer next year, they'll come up. But they'll look healthy and vigorous again. So.
Yeah, I've noticed that, like you say, I've never seen that before, or if I haven't paid attention, but that rust, I've seen that like all over in certain areas.
Yeah.
Just odd that you see one tree completely.
We didn't, a lot of our sites that we had sold and on the books, I think we had one maybe that somebody just bypassed for this year, but the DNR really had, it sounded like they were having a lot of trouble with it. So.
That doesn't hurt the tree.
No, it doesn't hurt the tree long term. I mean, obviously the more stressors you put on a tree, if you combine that with, maybe 2 or 3 years of drought in a row and they have that needle rust continued, then it may, but if it's only for, one growing season, they should come out of that.
Interesting. Any other questions?
No.
Back into your routine for next year as a first, when's your next?
So the next auction is January 29th, 2025, so.
We'll get notices of that?
Yeah, you guys will get notices. The guys, the foresters have to have their proposed sales or appraisals in here in the middle of December, and then we review them and put the flyer auction notice together and send it out. They come around quick, so.
Busy time.
Yeah.
Never stops.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions for Nathan?
All right.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi. And you're looking at a tandem.
Yep, so at the last regular board meeting, received authorization to go for quotes on one tandem axle plow truck chassis and outfitting it with plow equipment. We went to state bid. Looked at Nuss with Volvo. We'd kind of like to stay with Volvo now since we're in that direction. Received the state bid quote on a chassis for a similar Volvo to what we have. The only difference is we went with the stainless steel oil pan on this one. Cost went up about $9,000 from last year with inflation and that oil pan addition. So that came in at $161,502.97. And then for outfitting, we went with Towmaster, again state bid. That came in at $166,980, exact same thing as these last two that we got for 2024. It is a budgeted item for 2025. I realize that the 2025 budget hasn't been approved yet, but for scheduling, it would be beneficial for us to get authorization to purchase now. Quarter 1 would be the chassis build, and quarter 4 would be outfitting.
So we would have it by the end of next year potentially?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Like I mentioned in the last board meeting, this would replace either the 2001 International down in Silverdale or a 2003 International in Bowman.
And the one, did you get the other one out lately here in the last?
The one that we received back in October, yeah, that was out yesterday. Seemed to do good. A couple things we gotta adjust on it, but we'll get the other one in December of this year. And like I said, that'll go down to Big Falls. And the two Volvos that we got this year will replace the 2005 Sterlings. And there's some rotation that goes around.
What do you do with the old ones?
The old ones we'll sell next year.
Maybe you can sell the dashes and
Yeah. Not much left of the
If you're
dashes.
lucky.
Duct tape doesn't have a good resale.
if they duct tape. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing a couple of those things. They were in tough shape.
Yeah. The guys take good care of them. Just,
Well, to get that many years out of them, that's 20 years. That's pretty good.
yeah.
Honestly, that's a good lifetime for, especially the conditions that they're in and what they have in the back of them, especially in the winter. I mean, it's all nasty stuff. I mean, that's worst of the worst. So
Yeah.
you can see how they get kind of get wore out and rusted out and stuff like that. So.
How many Sterlings do you have? We only have 2 left, and those 2 are getting replaced this year.
The dash is on the floor then almost?
Yep.
How many miles would a 20-year-old plow truck have on it?
That's around 200,000.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so wishes of the board.
Order a new dump truck. I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a
Thank
good
you,
day.
Ken.
Good morning.
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 You feel okay?
Yeah, but
I've been hearing what you're saying, and I'm trying to be more selective in my submittals.
You're gonna run PCA out of business by not giving us our normal package here.
There was 198 other pages that I could have thrown in there, but I figured it wasn't necessary.
And that's not a very big project.
No.
They're crying out loud. They say it's like that. It's like,
I
wow.
printed one out this morning from that was a lot smaller project than it was that big.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. So you're just looking at kind of going out for bids for this project? So we're
Yeah.
ready to roll and kind of got everything in order for plans, it looks like, and now the next step is kind of get them out, you say, around mid-December-ish? Or-
Yeah, so as the commissioners know, the Jackfish Rain Lake RV sanitary design and construction project, it's a sewer extension project that will provide sewer service to 43 RV sites, not currently connected to sanitary sewer. The funding is currently planned through a $200,000 clean water funding grant with a 25% county match, which was already authorized in the 2024 budget, and if we have carryover for 2025, that'll be also accounted for. The funding that we received was through the Voyageurs National Park Clean Water Joint Powers Board. So we're planning, we're almost done with the plans. Well, we are done with the plans and are ready to go out for bids. And so I'm seeking approval of the plans and specifications and authorize us to seek bids on the project. And I had presented the information at our last meeting together, so, as well as here. So. And I know Cole Rubin was here yet, but he said he thought he would be here. I don't know if he's on the.
Well, we're a little early.
Sure. Yeah. I know he wanted to provide some input, not input, but just comment to the board. So if he does come, I guess we can ask him at that time.
So the electricity is kind of figured out and moving in the right direction for the power.
Yeah. So the project includes electricity as part of the bid package.
That is okay.
So whoever is selected as the contractor will deal with that and be part of the regular pay for constructing the project. The bids are due and are to be opened on December 19th. So back to your point, mid-December, and so we'll find out more once the bids are opened. We'll understand what the cost is, and that'll be brought back to the board.
And what was the engineer estimate on that again?
$257,000.
Okay.
In that range, yeah. And so total grant $200,000. What the county committed was $50,000, and then we'll see where the bids come out. So it's right in.
I think there was $45,000 contingency in that bid.
There was, yeah, $30,000.
Which is a little heavy for that price, but yeah.
Yeah, $30,000 for power, and then the remainder for just contingencies in the project. So.
Yeah. Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. And authorize environmental service to seek bids for the Rainier RV sanitary sewer construction project. Any further discussion? Questions? Thanks for all your work on this, Matt.
Yeah.
I know it's been a process.
Yeah.
Right?
We still have more work to do, but we'll get there.
One more work to do, but yep, this is a step in the right direction, and I know that it's be great to get them hooked up and get them on site. So that's I think a great use of these funds for that. I mean, that's awesome. So you're doing good all the way around. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
You too.
Let's see. Next up, roundtable on committee. Any committee updates from anyone?
ATV Joint Powers is going to get the trail pushed through from, it sounds like, at or Lake Captogama to 2 south or 3 south into Cooch County, which would be I'm trying to think what the name of that road is, the loop road there. Comes back out at Ray.
The Rain North Road? I don't know.
Ray North Road, yep. So, and they're going to get IRB funding for that because it's starting in St. Louis County, so they'll be able to push the trail all the way through into Cooch.
Nice.
So, it sounds like that'll hopefully be for next year, starting on that project. So the ATVs will be able to get to Ray, and then from Ray, I believe they had it figured out how they can get all the way to Little Fork, back through the Haney country, the back roads over to the Blue Ox Trail. Still trying to figure out how to get to International Falls, but
About
Yeah, boat.
Yeah.
So that's on their list. So we're getting closer.
Sounds great. Yeah, there's lots of roads out there, I'll tell you.
Yep.
I'll tell you, it's. But when
Might
you
have
get
some
in-
snow this winter even,
I think we got more snow this year already than we had last year, so we're doing good.
very much.
And the cold weather is starting to look good all the way up until middle of December. It's below 0 at night, so that'll help. And no snow will help a little bit for a bit.
Yep.
Any perspective on the Little Fork RV area out there at the pit?
No, I
Haven't heard anything for a while.
I haven't heard much.
I'm curious, that sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah, that would be good.
Anybody else have a committee update? No. Fantastic. Really nothing to add. Just kind of do our legislative priorities here with our local delegation, our state delegation here in a little while. We may recess this meeting and continue on when that happens. We can probably do public comment if there's anyone for public comment. And then we can take whoever comes along if we'd like to. But we'll probably take a recess here until they arrive and grab some donuts and coffee or whatever you want here too if anybody wants to hang out. So maybe we'll do public comment after the legislators if that's okay. So, but I would invite Cole to come on up here if you like. We kind of went through his portion of this here, which is the Rainy Lake RV. And maybe just kind of give us a little bit of an idea of what's going on there and kind of the process, the timeline that you've had and been working with, and kind of what you got going on out there.
Perfect. Hello, I'm Cole Rubin with Rainy Lake RV, and I want to thank you all for being here. I wish I was here a little bit earlier. And I'd like to start by thanking everyone involved in giving me the opportunity to connect the city sewer at a fair price. The county worked hard to secure a grant and gave me the opportunity to give back to our community. We are a new seasonal business, only open 5 months of the year. And in the first 5 years, we have been hit with some huge challenges. COVID completely shut us down for 2 months. A historical flood followed just 2 years later, which shut us down for the majority of the summer. After 2 big setbacks like that, it's hard not to get discouraged. However, seeing the response from our customers and the positive feedback, it's a breath of fresh air that keeps us going. It is amazing the distance people have traveled to stay with us, also that they could enjoy wonderful Rainy Lake. Connecting the sewer will help protect clean waters for generations to come and allow us the opportunity to continue to provide a place for tourism to thrive. Our tourism needs an RV park. So again, I thank you for your consideration to help aid this expensive project using a provided grant and allowing me an affordable price that is manageable for a young business. So talking about the timeline, 2017 we bought the land, a couple years of clearing it, developing it, bringing as much fill in as we could afford. We never did get it above that floodplain, but that was a financial setback that restricted us from filling it above the floodplain. The county has worked with us great, where they allowed us to put in holding tanks, not hook up the city sewer, allow us to provide a need for our community, and we were able to fulfill that. In 2019, we opened. We have had a great turnout. We have had many people that were bringing. We tried to figure it out. I think we've had. The majority of the continents have been to our RV park, which is kind of neat. So 2000, we had the flood. We've had a few setbacks, like I talked about, but for sewer, we were shovel ready in 2021, meaning we had permits all through the state. We had an engineered plan approved that I worked with Benchmark, had that all set up. It got down to the connection fees on top of the EDU, the connection fee plus all of the grinders and the construction for it. And it got to a situation where a seasonal RV park could not afford that. And we did secure a grant with the Clean Water Act as well. but it just wasn't as much as what the county got. So talking with Matt, talking with everybody who I could, we were unable to make it happen. And the grant that the county was able to get really helped us out and was going to make it possible. We have purchased wetland credits to fill in more land. I built a 15-wide trail going around, still trying to not utilize 275, knowing that's not an ideal road coming into my property. We tried to make a different route, and we, working with the DNR, we were unable to get that road punched in, but we're able to get a 15-foot trail. So now that is completed, and we have a way of traveling for like equipment, my side-by-side, the small mini excavator. You know, now we can get things back and forth, which really does help. But then again, I just wanted to thank you all. And do you have any questions for me?
Well, no, and I think it's just a culmination of the grant and a lot of the folks that aren't even here now, myself included, that been working on that committee for years. Matt's office, kind of coordinating all that type of stuff and getting as low as it may have been. I think we're really close to the starting line, and then we had a flood, and then that kind of set everybody back for a better part of a year, even longer. At least around here, and with the cleanup and the remediation and all that, and yourself. Were affected greatly. Unbelievably in that year. So, getting this up off the ground is exciting. I'm even excited because it's a good thing to get that into the centralized system. Easier for you, affordable as well, which is great with this Clean Water Council VNP joint powers money. And again, that's what we advocate for through this board and through other St. Louis County board, kind of working together. To kind of make all that happen for our whole watershed area. So it's great. Matt, do you have anything else to add?
It's just very good for the environment as well as all users of Rainy Lake and our watershed. So it's a positive project, a win-win for all involved.
And appreciate all your dedication too with our community and making that investment on not an easy project.
Not an easy project.
Not an easy project, but like you say, it was been needed for years, and everybody thinks about it, but nobody did it except for you. So that's a testament to your willingness and some perseverance and things of looking ahead a little bit and how to get it done. So that's I'm glad to see it, and I know people appreciate it. It's great to have people around up there. So.
Thank you.
It's awesome. I'm glad you were able to make it. I'm sorry we missed you earlier. And
me too.
Thanks for hanging out. We were running a little bit quick. I don't know why today we were running so quick. But sometimes we run a little bit slow. So you might have been sitting here for, an hour waiting. So anyway, either way, I appreciate you being here. So
I appreciate you guys.
Thanks for a great job.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Shortly. So at this time, I will ask for public comment. Is there anyone in person or online for public comment? Hearing no public comment, we'll again take a recess until our local delegation, Senator Hochschild and Representative Scrabo, should be on site here shortly. So, welcome.
For that.
It's kind of like touring, right? Yeah, you're on tour. So we appreciate y'all being here, and for anybody that doesn't know, Senator Hochschild and Representative Roger Scrabo here. And I know you're making your rounds and kind of going to do your due diligence before you start up your session. Yep. And I know you got lots of stuff on the piece of paper already, so we got a little bit more for you. Some of it probably the same. Yep. And then we'll have some of our local issues that are maybe unique to our county or in our county alone. So, but we really appreciate you. Congratulations, Representative, for your re-election.
Yeah,
appreciate you, serving and taking the time to come up and visit us. So
yeah, and congratulate me for not being on the ballot. That was wonderful.
He would call me saying, "Do you know how lucky I am?" I said, "Yes, I do."
Well, I definitely give you. You've done a great job, I think, in the last legislature with the sessions and some of the things that our county has received too. So I really appreciate that. I know for the folks that don't understand, some of the things that you can talk about today, and feel free to go into in depth however you feel, and then maybe give us a little bit of a view on on what's coming up too. So, and we'll maybe go from there after that. So, do you know everybody? Everybody knows everybody here? Do we want to do? Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Whoever wants to fire up, fire up.
Okay. You go ahead.
Okay,
You did
I'll do it
last
again.
time.
So,
Yeah.
I sit on capital investments. It's the bonding group. And I actively went after the chair. I did not get it, a more senior person got it. But while I was actively going after it, I kept asking people in my caucus, like, where do you think we should do bonding? How should we do this? Because I'm in favor of a 4-bill bonding bill, instead of one big massive bill. Let's do a infrastructure bill. Let's do a HEAPR bill. Let's do a transportation bill, and then the fluff, the stuff that nobody likes to say they voted for, but everybody wants. Money for a jail, money for a EMT area where everybody's at. Those are really to get them through the legislature. Everyone just kind of goes like this, and it gets in the bill because it's something the local should pay for. That's their mentality, and it's like, well, yeah, but they can't. It's like I use Grand Marais as an example. It's similar to what Cooch County is. There's 5,600 people in Grand Marais, and you expect to have everything in that working county. They don't have an environmental services in Cook County. They just don't have it. There's only so many people, and it's so big. 7% is private land. 93% is public. So it's really hard to make that kind of thing work. But my point is, what I'm going to see this session we're anticipating is more of a bare bones budget, because we have to pass a budget. And right now, we technically don't know anything about the budget till December, first week of December. There'll be some money, and then February is when the real numbers come out, and then we can start doing the budget by then. But just philosophically, there's, the Democrats want 90 billion, and the Republicans want 67, 70 billion. That's the big difference. And what's going to happen in between, and how are we going to get that down? In the meantime, while that's being settled, we're trying to get stuff for our constituents up here on the other stuff, which is tied to the big bill. So it'll be, and did anyone tell you it's a tie? It's 67. So there's no advantage. No one has an advantage, and it's all about relationships. And it's all about trying to play the best political game you can to get what you need for your constituents in your district. And in my opinion, we're fortunate because not only do we have a great Republican setting for you, kidding. We've got a great Democratic senator too. So we have both sides covered. And I think and we work really good together. So the whole idea is, if we keep working together and you guys keep giving us the information, we can help. I mean, at some point we can't. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not as easy as, oh yeah, just do this. But at the same time, it allows us to I hate saying it this way, but you play the game. It's a long game, and it's not a short game. It's a long game. So it's, how are we going to come out of this session, this particular year, for next year, and pass the budget bill, and anything. I want to, again, I'm working on my caucus. I want 4 bonding bills, a minimum, and not all in one, because whenever we do that, like the senator will talk about it, it's crazy. It just doesn't. It shouldn't be that way. Last year we got smurfed. I thought we had a good bonding bill, a lot of good stuff in that bonding bill, and we just ran out of time. So hopefully we can go back to that bill, get it cleaned up and fixed and sent out, and then start working on these other bills that need help. As far as local stuff, I haven't seen anything from you guys other than the jail. I've had some chats with you guys about the jail, and we'll see where we can go with that. I don't know if it's the Department of, not Commerce, it's Corrections, Department of Corrections. Is all jail stuff go through them? Are you familiar with that?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, and again, that got cut. That didn't, being a capital investments, I got a tour of Lionel Lakes, and Lionel Lakes needed a huge upgrade. Their prison was just, it's way over, too many people, a lot of things about it. And we had money in there to fix it, and it didn't get passed. So it's one of those, oh, it didn't get passed. Yeah, but I mean, what I saw, workers had to deal with that much more of an opportunity to be injured or harmed. And it's like, come on, people, we're better than that. We are better as a state. Why are we dilly-dallying on stuff like that? So and when it comes to, again here, this prison, I don't know how much the feds are going to help you at all, if at all, but when someone's coming across the bridge with something bad, they got to put them somewhere, and this is it. It's a good place to land. So I don't know if we can get anything to help them, help you guys, but I'd be sure willing to help try to get that. Other than that, I'll let the senator go. We got lots of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much. Like Roger said, we had an election, and I think what's super interesting is that in our district, Donald Trump won, Amy Klobuchar won, Pete Stauber won, Roger wins, and I win, right? So we're one of the few districts in the whole state where people really vote for the people, for the person, I mean. And I think that gives us a unique opportunity to really have representation at both sides of the table, like Representative Scraba mentioned. It also shows that I think the results nationally, but also locally with those split votes, show that people are really looking for folks to stay out of the extremes, stay out of some of the nonsense that I think we see in our politics, and focus on the bread and butter, which I think is something that I've really tried to work on the last 2 years, and I know that Representative Scraba has as well. But I think we need to double down on that. The message is clear. Focus on the things that actually impact people and stay out of the side issues. So that's really going to be what I do. Roger mentioned that there's no advantage in the House, and that's exactly right. It is split 50-50, and I'm trying to see the opportunity in this, and I would say, and I genuinely mean this, we have an advantage because of our relationship. There is, and I promise you this, there is no other senator on the Democratic side and a Republican on the House side that share a district that have anywhere even remotely close to a relationship like Roger and I do. And they would even openly admit that because they don't get along. And that is to their detriment in the current environment that we're in. Because now, when Roger is in a stalemate in the House and they're negotiating and the Republicans have a position, if I agree with him and them, then I can vote for that amendment we've talked ad nauseum about in Koochiching County. This is an opportunity for us to say that we deserve, no matter our zip code, no matter where people live, that an ambulance shows up. That should be a moral imperative, whether you live in Edina, whether you live in Duluth, or whether you live in International Falls. But the truth is, if you took all the license holders in the entire state and looked at the revenue and the costs, EMS is making a lot of money. But all the money's being made in the 7-county metro. And that's a story over and over again, kind of regardless of what policy you look at. So my argument is, now that we're going into this next session, we did some aid, we did some reforms to the EMSRB. Now we have to look at, do we pass an essential service? Do we try to create some sort of fee that taxes the metro and sends the money to the struggling services in places like Cooch? That's going to be my goal. It's how do we get more support for core services that are a moral imperative for our entire state and make the point that northern Minnesota deserves those dollars. So that's something I'll work with Representative Scraba on. I'd be remiss not to bring up CPA. I was an author on the bill in 2023. I will be the chief author now going into 2025 to try to increase county program aid. I know that's hugely important for you all. I know we did a big move on PILT, and that benefited Cooch over all other counties. I don't know if you guys have more to talk about with that funding formula or not, but happy to talk about that as well. I will be on the tax committee, which will be critically important for a lot of these things. So if there's any ideas or new things you need me to be thinking about from the tax area, that's going to be probably my main committee focus. So thanks so much for having us.
Well, appreciate you being here, really do. You're doing good work too, and I think it shows, and I think it's been conveyed into the communities with some of the funding mechanisms that have been in place. But it's not all about that either. It's about getting those services to the folks and making a difference too. So that's, and we're very cognizant of that. I think we have a full board here that is of the same thought pattern as well. We really want to get those services out to the people and do the best thing that we can with it. So. I don't know how we normally do things here. We're not experts, obviously, about stuff. So we have some departments, directors here that we would certainly like, just give them a few minutes just to listen to some of the concerns that they have that they've conveyed to us.
Awesome.
And I know you probably do that maybe everywhere else. And whoever wants to start, we want to start with HHS. I know we've been talking with Derek Foss, the Public Health Human Service Director. For our county here, and he has
perfect. Yeah.
some thoughts on a direction for a few things and a few things of concern that maybe you just grab your ear for a second.
Perfect.
Yeah, here, I printed it, I created a handout
Thanks.
here if you want to.
There, go ahead and sit down.
Oh, thank you. I'm very new to my role in Public Health and Human Services as a director. I started in December of last year, and these are just a couple of priorities that these fall in line with MAXA priorities as well.
Okay.
They're virtually the same, but it's issues that I've seen come up in my directors' meetings and things like that we've talked about. The first one is the Anoka Regional Treatment Center. When people are civilly committed to the Anoka Regional Treatment Center for stabilization services and whatnot, we don't necessarily get any input on when they are deemed no longer requiring the services.
Okay.
We get a week to 10 days notice. This person is going to be DNMC, does not meet medical criteria. Once that happens, 100% of the cost shifts over to the county. From a normal 80-20 split. 100% of the cost shifts over to the county, and that is in excess of $2,000 a day that person is in placement. And a lot of times there isn't a bed available, and if there is a bed available with these difficult clients, it is hard to find a place that will actually accept them. So you end up having people sit in this facility. The county's footing the bill for $2,000+ a day while you're trying to find placement for this person. I did find a document from years ago where it used to be a 50-50 split once the person was deemed no longer meeting criteria. But I couldn't find where that changed. It was long before my time. But that is an issue that can virtually bankrupt any county, but especially smaller counties. That's one big one. I know it's a MAXA priority. They did pass something last session regarding people that are in that facility and deemed mentally ill and dangerous.
Okay.
But majority of the folks that are in there are not considered. They don't meet the criteria of being mentally ill and dangerous.
Okay.
So it was a help, but not where it needed to be.
Okay.
The next thing I have on the list is the Human Services Modernization Technology. In 23, a $200+ million bill was passed for the state systems, which is wonderful. Those state systems are very outdated. A lot of them are, we call them Oregon Trail systems because it's like the Oregon Trail game when you were a little kid. It's,
I remember hearing about that.
and it's like the green screen and everything else. So they passed that money for the state systems, which was a great thing, but there was nothing to go to the county levels for us to keep up with any changes that they're doing. We recently brought in CaseWorks, which is EDMS software to the county. The county is footing the full bill of that because this will interface with those state systems. We went as an entire region. We worked with CaseWorks, so it's us, Carleton, Cook, Lake. St. Louis went a little before us because they're bigger. But we went as a region with them because we got a discount in order to be able to go as a region. So we were on paper files here in Koochiching County, all except for our financial assistance, our social services, our child support. Everything was on paper files. This is going to get us into the 21st century. It's going to allow us to be able to better serve our clients, create more staff time because they don't have the burden of when it interfaces with the social service information system or MAXIS or METS, when it interfaces with that, you're not filling these paper forms out and then putting them in. It's auto-filling in. That's just one of the small things. But one thing that would be great is for us to be able to get that in there. This funding was passed at the state level for the state systems, for the state systems transformation initiative. But nothing was kicked down to the counties, and we're kind of footing the bill on that. So, if
Do
there
you
could be
have
some,
any idea what a cost would be initially for something to support like that?
well, Caseworks' initial cost to go for Koochiching County before federal reimbursement, because we get federal reimbursement on that, was well over $200,000.
Okay.
But after federal reimbursement and pulling it from different pots of money, we were able to get that down to about $60,000. So, but it's still a heavy lift for a small county.
Yep.
12,000 people.
And that's after a 40% discount for going as a region.
With the region.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going with the region, we got a 40% discount off the software, and then there's ongoing costs to it. It's not one and done. You have the ongoing costs every year, which are right around $20,000 or better every year that's happening. So even if there is some sort of collaboration, I put in there a collaboration project, with grants that we could apply for to access some of these funds where we could collaborate with other counties and apply as one and get that to help offset our costs. It would be wonderful.
Cool.
Last thing is the I just cherry picked 3 big ones that have come up. The Min Choices cost shift. This happened back in 2017. The cost for administration of the Min Choice assessments, which is statutorily mandated to assess people with disabilities for services, what they qualify for. It used to be 100% cost on the state because it's required in statute. In 2017, they shifted some of that cost to the county for the administrative portion of it, which is 18.1%. The counties pay. This resulted in 17. It was $19.3 million that went to the state overall from all the counties. It saved the state $19.3 million. But that came out of the pocketbooks of the counties for the system that is mandated by state statute to utilize. And it's an essential system. We need to use the system. But with that cost share that we have to do, it's limiting counties' ability to either retain or acquire staff to be able to do these assessments. And they've been working on efficiencies with the system. Max has been working very closely with them to make it more viable, more feasible, work better with for the counties, but you haven't been seeing that benefit outweigh the cost share piece of it. It's still kind of a cumbersome system with a lot of workarounds and things like that. So I know we are staying on top of it where we're at as far as the assessments coming in, but I know other places like Itasca County and Carleton County and stuff, they are very delayed on being able to complete their assessments because they lack the people power to be able to complete these assessments. And with that cost share that we have to pay for using the system, it limits our ability to expand anything further. So,
thank you.
Yeah,
very helpful.
Yep.
Well,
thank you, Eric. Did you get all this?
Yeah. This is the stuff that flies under the radar, to be frank. I mean, it's just like, man, amazing how it impacts you all. So, yeah, good to know. All right. Well,
Good job, Derek.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nathan, is Nathan here?
Yep.
Hey, Nathan.
Good morning again. Again, I'm Nathan Heidel. I'm the County Land Commissioner. I'll be real brief. We really only have two items, and one of them isn't even listed here. We know we have your guys' support on a $1 million bonding request for the Blue Ox Trail upgrades coming through the Northeast ATV Joint Powers Board.
Yeah.
So we're obviously, would be excited to see that go through. The other one, again, and thank you both again for your support last session on the kind of cleaning up the Tyler versus Hennepin County stuff. I know that took up a lot of time.
I was on the phone with Julie with St. Louis County at like 3 a.m. the second to last day before session. That was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But yes, luckily it got done.
Yeah. So that
I don't know if there's changes you guys need. But
no, I think
okay.
so. So the one issue I guess that we would like to call your attention to or highlight, and it's something that counties had kind of proposed prior to that Tyler v. Hennepin issue coming up, and I think it got highlighted last session in some of the testimony is just, I know we as Cooch County, and there's a multitude of other counties that have old school buildings that are now tax forfeit, and how counties have, getting counties the ability to fund cleaning those type of situations up. And I don't think it's unique to school buildings. It could be a ag-centric county with an old grain elevator or something to that magnitude. I know I know Olmsted County last year, I think they were appropriated like $800,000 to clean up an old tax forfeited property had an old tire dump on it. So that was a conversation, I think, and you guys probably recall it better than I do, that that was, they didn't want to deal with it per se last session. They wanted to separate the two issues, make it cleaner, and then maybe this session come back and kind of tackle that one potentially. So
Good.
That is an issue. I remember hearing that case at nausea, at length, about the individual who basically turned his nose up to society. And everyone's like, oh, it's just an individual, until the bill came.
Yep.
And it was like, hey, wait a minute. This guy screwed everybody. He did.
Mm-hmm.
It was pure, unadulterated, mean, evil.
Yeah.
And the system shouldn't allow that. The system should not. If you do that, you have to be held accountable, or the county someone has to be able to stop what he was doing. Because he just could continue to keep doing what he was told not to do. So, and who fixes it? Homestead County. Well, then they came to all of us, and it did get tied into the bill, I thought.
yeah, I think they got a one-time special appropriation.
They
roughly.
needed 2.
Yeah.
It was way up there.
Yeah.
But they got 8. So okay.
So yeah, I think it's not the norm, but it seems like as time goes on, I think all counties in Minnesota, I know St. Louis County, they've had to deal with old school buildings, and I was surprised in all of the Tyler versus Hennepin conversation how many counties are out there that have that albatross situation.
Absolutely.
So
That's great.
Thank you.
Nathan? Yeah.
Thank you, Nathan.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Matthew Gwynn, Koochiching County Environmental Services Director. There's a couple items related to solid waste. One is new rulemaking related to demolition landfills.
Okay.
I have a letter from the MPCA. I'll give each of you a copy of that. This is just a letter that we received on our demolition facilities that talks about that they're proposing new rulemaking related to demolition landfills. Over the years, they've been studying demolition landfills, and years ago, they said what we were placing in the demolition landfills was inert, and that they allowed unlined landfills for that type of waste. New studies have found that it's not as inert as they thought it was years ago. And so they're proposing new rulemaking that will put a large burden on our tax base related to lining, water monitoring, the treatment of leachate, and various other things. So I guess we're really concerned about that because, obviously there's a limit to what our tax base can afford to pay. And there's a need for disposal, right? We have to provide disposal. It's a basic service. You don't think about it until you can't dispose of things, right? And so any help in that area as far as funding. So if they're going to make new rulemaking, what we expect is there's attached funding to help us be able to meet those requirements.
Making a really big assumption.
And there's 90 or so demolition landfills throughout the state that have the same problem. But in a small county like ours, it's a bigger problem. We have transportation issues.
Exactly.
The cost for us to transport right now, just our MSW, or just our regular garbage waste goes all the way to Koochiching County. It's 180 miles. We transport that waste, and it costs the taxpayers a lot of money, either through taxes or fees, and we collect both, and we're trying to help pay for it, but that cost keeps rising. And there's a limit to the level that people can pay, and they need to be able to find some relief. If they're going to propose new rules that cost rural Minnesota more money, if they don't attach funding to it, I'm afraid that they'll find other ways to dispose of this waste. And it's not good for the environment if they choose to do that. And so that's a big concern. And maybe if you have more questions about the letter and more details, I can get into them.
The only thing I would, and I'm it's on the tip of my tongue, but there's some fund that we've talked about in the tax committee that would go towards solid waste support from the state general fund that would get dispersed to local governments. And we funded it at a far lower level than I wanted to. But I think if we got it up to the level that was requested, it would help counties with some of these costs. So I guess just know that at least in the tax committee, we are talking about that. I don't know about the environment committee if we've talked about, when we do these mandates, if there'd be a match, but that's another area where we're both on that committee.
Sure.
So environment or taxes might be some opportunities there.
Sure. And when we talk about the solid waste tax, 27% of it goes into the state general fund.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
We would have taken some of that 27%.
3%. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3% was reallocated, but the intent of that solid waste tax was not to be in the general fund.
Right.
The intent of that solid
It
waste
got
tax
pulled
was
there
for solid
during-
waste management.
I think it was like plenty when when we were in deficits and stuff,
Yeah,
and they pulled it out.
Last session, we tried to get money back, like, not get it all, but claw back some of it.
Right. Sure.
And I remember having those discussions, and people were fighting it. And I'm like, why are you fighting? This is...
SCORE, that's what it's called.
Yeah, SCORE funding.
Yeah.
But that's for recycling, yeah.
Right.
That's
Sorry.
true.
And that money was supposed to, it's like, that belongs to that organization. The state would not give it up. They just, the general fund, I was like, we have to fix this problem. And I don't have a problem. It's 3 now, right? Is that what it is?
So there's a certain amount that was already allocated for recycling purposes.
Right.
The 3% that was taken out of the 30% that was put into the solid waste, or into the general fund from the solid waste management tax, that 3% was reallocated as additional funding for recycling services for all counties throughout the state. The request is, and it's not just our local county, but statewide,
Yep, I understand.
is to reallocate all of the solid waste management tax and use it for the purposes that it was meant to be used for.
Exactly.
So the solid waste tax is one avenue. There's also clean water funding and various other things when we talk about funding for these types of things. It's not just one, but the solid waste tax, it's a logical thing. It should be resolved, And if they're concerned about their general revenue fund, raiding other money that was for a certain purpose to pay for other things in the state, that's
it's
not the
arguably
intent.
unethical because you're taxing citizens on a specific thing and then using it for the general fund. So.
That's right. So we appreciate the 3%. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but we want to continue the efforts to try to allocate that funding for the proper use.
Good.
And then when you talked about SCORE funding, obviously it's far underfunded as far as the mandates that are required of counties and the costs associated with us. Again, we transport all of our recyclable materials a long distance, and that costs our taxpayers a much greater amount per a ton of material versus, say, a metropolitan area where their markets are right there. And so they're not only do they get the benefit of larger tax base that they can spread it across, but also all their markets are right there. They probably have a positive return on bringing those recyclables to market versus us. It's always a loss. I mean, we're always losing
now
money.
pause and swap out recycling or waste and put in any issue.
That's correct.
And it's the disadvantage that we face. And I call it the rural tax because everything we do, it just costs more because of distance, less capacity, all the things.
And if we care about the environment, and it's a statewide issue, we have our national park, we have all of these clean, we want the clean water, but if it's important to them, that means funding it as well. So that's a challenge. So one other issue, and I know it's more of a local issue, but something that's of a concern to some of the commissioners as well as citizens, is we participate in the National Flood Insurance Program.
Okay.
And that program provides disaster relief, program funding. So when we have a flood or various other things, there's monies available for reimbursement depending on the type of damage and the declarations that have been made versus state and federal levels. But so in the National Flood Insurance Program, when the requirements for the county to participate is to adopt an ordinance that manages development within floodplains. But it also includes adopting the mapping that FEMA produces that in our county was recently updated, and there's been some major changes in the mapping versus the previous mapping. And that's impacting property owners, and some of them are feeling like when they apply for a land use permit, they're concerned about their ability to be able to develop their land, and much of it is encompassed by this new mapping. We have concerns about whether the mapping is some of it. I think there could be some additional studies done to see if it's they've got all the numbers right to I think some of it's too conservative.
And this was FEMA's work?
So FEMA does it, and then the state so we've made requests to the state to study certain areas within the floodplains, within our mapping areas, and they are studying a few areas. But
and who? Do you know?
Seal Strauss from the DNR.
The DNR. Okay.
She's the state floodplain manager.
Okay.
She's my contact that I talk to.
Got it.
And she's very good. But their hands are tied a little bit. They only have so much capacity to study certain areas. But I feel like our county is of great need of study.
Okay.
And there are various waterways and watersheds within our county that have big impacts to property owners, and we'd like some of those areas to be studied. And
any idea what that would cost?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. That would be a DNR question, but it's a hydraulic study of watersheds.
Okay.
And maybe their inputs are too high. Maybe their base floodplain is their calculations seem to be a little strong in certain areas, and we just like a little relief. And right now, as property owners, they're feeling the crunch of, hey, I have to elevate, I have to pay for a surveyor, I have to do a bunch of things that cost me a whole lot of money that I never used to have to pay, and it's making it difficult for me to be able to use my property, and they're feeling like it's a taking a bit. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, that issue's gotten to the point where we're considering just kind of dropping out of that program. However, that's a double-edged sword. I mean, obviously the insurance impacts and the loan capacities of people would be impacted greatly if it isn't already. So now the person that can afford to buy the house outright, no big deal. Self-insure, no big deal.
Right.
People that do have to have that insurance, big deal, big money. And banks may have requirements tied to that. So, and I hate to say that's where we're at with it, but we're really frustrated with some of those types of things. So, anyway.
Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Just quickly, very briefly, the new voter funds that the legislature approved are very, very appreciated, especially with all of the new 2023 law changes. Elections have been really impacted with some major changes, especially with the new early voting requirement that was effective in 2023, or as soon as the Office of the Secretary of State can make the software changes, which they still have not done.
Okay.
Supposedly it will be in place for 26, but they still at this point cannot tell us how that will impact our election equipment needs. So setting my 2025 budget, I have no idea what I may possibly need extra for 2026, and that makes it difficult. So if you can keep those voter funds rolling in, they were increased. First year, Koochiching received about $4,300. Last year, we received a little over $19,000. I have heard that they intend to keep those at that level or increase them, so that will be much needed as we go forward with these new election laws.
Good to know. Thanks.
Thank you, Joan. Hey, Trent. Bridge program?
Well, I'm not as verbose as Matt is, so sorry to disappoint you. Fairly light as far as transportation and infrastructure goes. We've got 3 items ranging from state to local, maybe even considered departmental. on the state side, we just want to continue to make sure that that electric vehicles are paying their fair share. That it's a 1-to-1 since they're falling out of the gas tax bracket. So I'm sure you hear that from many counties.
And we did do some of that, but I hear
just
that it needs to
continue
be,
continue working down that path.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
like I said, 1-to-1. That's fair.
Agreed.
The second thing is more local, but could be state, could be regional. The international bridge that we've got, it really needs to be a government-owned bridge. I think the city of International Falls has probably reached out to you folks and talked about it. It's a hardship for folks. You know, we've got a sister city over there, and it's tougher and tougher to get over there and for them to get over here. You know, right now it's owned by an investment company. They've raised the rates for crossing significantly, and like I said, it's a hardship. You know, what is there? 2 international bridges throughout the United States that are toll. This one, you would have to, if you wanted to bypass it, you would have to drive down to Baudette in order to bypass it. Whereas the one over at Connect Windsor and Detroit, I believe.
Yep.
There's another bridge within a couple miles of that. So
They just built one.
Yep. So they have options. We don't have the same options. The third thing would be more departmental, I guess. You know, with building the new jail, we are in a little bit of a hardship financially again. I have a highway shop that was built in the 40s. It houses, we have five heavy equipment operators over there and a maintenance supervisor. We will be losing our highway department building over here in the next few years when it gets torn down. So that would give myself an opportunity to move my staff in with the highway department, and we're just looking for different funding options for that.
Okay.
So.
I do sit on that International Bridge Committee, and I haven't heard back. We met pretty hot and heavy last year for a while. The natives have a hand in it also.
Yep.
A new bridge. There's, you know, who bought the bridge is pretty savvy. They're business owners. And, you know, if government replaces a private bridge and they charge a toll, they're like, well, you cut our income too. And it's sort of like, okay, so maybe we need to rethink how we're going to do the bridge. Maybe it's in a different location, and then it's, you guys keep doing what you got to do, and we'll do what we have to do.
Yeah.
We're not going to impede you. They just have a choice to make over here. So I don't know how to solve this problem.
And that would be a shame, you know, with the new land port of entry being built. It would feel like it would kind of be a waste of money.
Yeah.
But it is a top priority for folks around this area.
For sure.
$330 million building.
Yeah, it's a localized area. We do share a lot of commerce back and forth here, not as much now with the mill being closed, but you know, they have a gold mine up north there, and they're always kind of seem like they're doing some things in that area to keep those folks going. So a lot of them shop over here, do use some of the resources we have over here, and vice versa. I mean, if you're looking for a different place to eat or different place to shop, that's obviously local. Then when there's a lot of families, the biggest thing is the cross-family people here. So you have a lot of folks. My mom was a Canadian, so I have all my family lives in Canada, basically. All my mom's side of the family. My dad's side of the family lives over here. So anyway, so lots of family, and there's lots of families that are like that in this area that are living that too. So a little bit unique to our area.
Workers as well. You know, Canada has quite a few workers that come over and staff facilities.
And what is it, $7 a crossing?
Yes, if you buy a bridge ticket, Matt, is it $72 for 12?
for 12 crossings. Last year I spent $4,000 on crossing the bridge.
If you buy just individually going across, I think it's $9, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
And my wife is from Canada. My mother-in-law was in the hospital, we were traveling every day, and I had to go see her. Now we have to go see her, we finally got her home, but I have to go there, and I'm not complaining, I'm happy to help.
No, I hear you.
But it's a huge additional tax, and that price is not, it's going to continue to go up, because their costs are gonna go up, right? I mean, and so, as local, as a citizen, this is dear to my heart, right? But as a local citizen, it's a big extra tax.
For sure.
That just across the bridge, and then those people that are having commerce into the United States, they may choose not to go fill their tank and go get a few supplies because it costs them, $7 to $10 to cross coast.
Or kids that play hockey here.
Yeah.
They go back and forth. That's what I have. The whole thing just doesn't work.
No.
I'm gonna have Paul, if you have any words of wisdom.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trent.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Paul Nevin, the Director of Koochiching Economic Development Authority. First, some thanks for being here and the fact that you guys have this great relationship, which boy, do we really need it now with what's going on locally. And thanks also, we've made some progress, happy to report, in Cooch with broadband. A lot of investment, both the city and the county cooperating with the state programs, and we've done a lot of we've made a lot of progress, both in coverage, as big as Cooch is, and I don't think a lot of people appreciate what we've been able to do here, but broadband is important for a number of reasons, but it really shrinks geography, and being in our location up here, it's vitally important. Also in housing, I know there's more money the legislature that's been devoted to housing, and I know everywhere you guys go in the region, housing is an issue. It's housing, it's childcare, it's healthcare, it's all those drivers that keep us. And as you travel around, Roger, we talk about this a lot with economic development. Cooch is a big county. We're shrinking. We're getting older. How do you stop that? There's no quick fix to that. And I know a lot of communities are trying different things, but the outflow of migration to the metro, especially, we're losing the capacity, as you say, in all things. In order to attract people back, you need health care, you need education, you need affordable housing, you need all those things that everybody else is trying to, and quality of life. And that's where I think we've got that in spades. We've got a really good story to tell here, but it's getting increasingly difficult to remain competitive given all these forces. And costs keep going up, and tax base shrinks. It's hard to provide those services, and so I know it's a story you're hearing everywhere, but I just echo that here in Cooch. We're willing to work with you folks in any capacity we can, and get creative when need be. I think it's one of the things we do and need to do. But and this is going to be a conversation going forward that we'll continue to have. But that's why I come last. I don't have any big solutions. It's just it's all right.
But you are touching on like the core issues we need to focus on. Too often I feel like politicians are focused on the fringes on these other issues, and if we made it so that you call 911 and you know an ambulance is going to come, you have the health care you need, the child care is affordable, you have a house you can afford. I mean, if we could just do that, that would help Cooch be competitive, because people want to live in northern Minnesota. We have the outdoors, it's beautiful, it's away from the hustle and bustle. So I have no problem touting our region as the best place in Minnesota, and I do it all the time. But frankly, what I hear in response is, but I can't find a house in Cooch or Lake or Cook County. So that's what we got to figure out.
And we've had some really good things happen in the last couple of years, kind of counterintuitive coming out of COVID and the economics of things, but we've had some really good things happening, and there's some good things on the horizon in terms of healthcare too. But the other thing about Cooch that's critical is we have to be able to use our natural resources. If we can't use our natural resources and more restrictions and regulations are placed, it's going to get harder and harder to survive here in Cooch. And I know that's, again, you hear that throughout the region, but it's really true here as well. So thank you for your time, and look forward to more conversations.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Paul. I'm back over there.
Welcome back.
Yeah, well, I figured they would get more attention if they were out front.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner, for doing that. I'd just like to touch on a thing quick, then I'm going to pass it to the Commissioner here. Local option sales tax. The building next door that you see is 100% funded from local taxpayers. That went out to our levy to the tune of a little over $25 million. So we've completely levied for that building. Along with, you know, everything else that we have to do with the increases in insurance and so on and so forth, wages, obviously, and then some of the needs, the mandated needs in other areas, you know, you've heard them here today too. So not necessarily asking for a lot. I think, you know, I personally had a plan on stepping into this role of how this would happen, and part of that would be helping it be funded through a local option sales tax. I mean, I think some of the taxpayers would understand their participation in helping pay for this, but I also think, you know, we have quite a bit of tourist travel through our area. You know, we're at about a 50-50, 48-52 percentage with our tourism, and that would really kind of help us along. And I know there's some proposed language in the future legislation, perhaps, that's going to change that and not give us that ability. I'm not going to speak for our board here, but you know, if we can pay for parks, we can pay for this type of stuff here through our local option, whether it be 0.5%, whether we have to keep the same system and we go to a referendum, whatever it may be. You know, when we're starting going out to the taxpayers for this money, we're tapped. Quite honestly, we have to extend the note to get the money. Yeah. That's where we're at, right? So we have tax capacity. We have, you know, a fair amount of that tax capacity, and we're not going to build a jail every 10 years. However, you know, we're tapped out so far as our borrowing capacity and some of these types of things. So that's a concern for us. And you know, I brought my tax statement. I was going to give you 2, but I guess it's not your 100% your issue because they went out yesterday too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the one thing. And in some of the language in the 279A, you know, just
EMS.
Well, no, this would be more for the local
options.
I'll get to EMS next. You know, just so that language gives us the ability to be able to do that, whether, like I say, whether it's a 0.5% cap where we do it locally, or whether we have to have a local referendum, state approval like it was before. I think that's kind of what we would be hoping for. And I can speak for the whole board on that, I think, nearly. So the other thing is the ambulance. We would just like a seat at the table. We all know there's an issue here. We all know that it needs to be solved. However, I too don't feel that it's always and only just a local taxpayer issue. I think that this is more of a long drawn out issue. And I know it's not going to get solved immediately, but I do know that our county wants to be a part of that. We obviously need the service. We have to have this stuff available for folks to want to be here. So yeah, we want to do that part, but we also want to have some say-so on how that stuff and the funding on what we're going to pay. We're not, unfortunately, myself personally, I will not, you know, probably be keen to letting any other entity decide what the money situation is going to be. I think we need to have that local control. And I know there's boards and external boards, but I think how you build relationships is kind of you start out slow and you expand. So I think keeping that type of decision at the local boards would be a positive thing, at least at this point, for that type of stuff. Because you're right, you know, we are a long ways away from you know, a metro area where they have opportunities and ambulances in the basement of hospitals. Our hospital here can't afford that ambulance, as the city can't afford that ambulance, right? So that really needs, but we do, I mean, I don't want to just pound on it either, but I really appreciate the efforts too from last year. That was great for our rural ambulance services, International being one of them, Little Fork being the other. Yep. You know, they got an ambulance order in Little Fork. That's a big deal for that area. It's a great area. And they have a good volunteer base, and that goes a long ways with that volunteer base. You know, when you get equipment and stuff to keep it going. So I appreciate all that. So I want to pass it over to Commissioner Harrison.
Well, thank you guys for coming up to see us today. And I guess he's passing it to me probably for the school issue. As you guys are aware, we lost our school out in the western part of the district. This is really a short-term issue right now because it's on. They're taking bids to sell the building, and I guess my position is I would like to delay that. There was an election, and it evened up the board.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
The two drivers of closing the school, what I consider maybe the two that lost their seats on the southern end. The north end flipped 50 votes from the south end. So And it goes back to the tax forfeit thing. And the crunch, are taking bids right now to sell the school. They could potentially do that on the 11th of December, I think is the date, which is really compressed for anybody to come in and say, look at it and make a responsible bid. And that gets back to what I call the irresponsible bids that could potentially put it into tax forfeiture.
Interesting.
And what Nathan was talking about earlier, a few years down the road. So ideally for me, I would like to see that delayed until a new board is seated. And then there's a couple of years before another election where you can explore, is there something for this? Does it fit? You know, give some time. And if at the end of that time, then the decision is there's no use or nothing there, then you go forward with it. But
Yep.
I don't personally see it coming back as a school, but I mean, because of the district. But what doesn't go away is the tax, the bonding money that the locals will be for, are still on it for.
Right.
So my position is if the northern end is still on the hook for the bonding, they should have the say or on disposal of the assets. And that's not going to happen with the current board there now, and the new board will be seated in January. And I don't know what we can do, but it's a unique situation.
Very. Yep.
90 miles between schools, you have to go to the taxpayers to build a new school. In a situation like that, maybe you should have to go to close a school. So it's really kind of unique in the state. Like I said, it's a time crunch right now, and the fact that they flipped 50 votes on the other end, there's some real concern down on that end about the direction of the current board. So I don't know, I can't speak for the rest of them, but we have discussed sending a letter that's been offered to us for $1, but you know, and then to the county for $1. Their decommissioning costs, that email I seen yesterday could have been up to $100,000 to decommission the sewage treatment. And then, well, you know, there's no time to do the study and say, what do we got? You know, or what is there? The $1 might not be very. I think that the district probably has the money to keep it heated for 2 years.
The electric bill was north of $60,000 to keep the school heated.
Not a month.
What, a year?
A year.
But my understanding is the sparsity aid and money is being kept by the Southern.
Yep.
They don't, not passing it to the districts that are educating the students that are actually living from there.
Right.
I think that money will go a long ways towards keeping it heated for a couple of years while we explore options. And I don't know, I can't, I'm not an expert on that.
Oh, shit. I didn't have time to listen. Sorry.
I walked through there, the school yesterday, and it's a very nice building. There's no leaks in there are no leaks in the ceiling. There's no cracks in the walls. I mean, it's a very good building, and you'd hate to have it end up in a demo pile somewhere.
We have another meeting to be at,
Yep.
but I don't know. Did you guys?
Oh, we touched everything. Thank you for.
And please keep that sheet.
Of course,
and look it over.
Yep.
You got another one, I'll take another one.
Which one? Yeah, if there's any questions, obviously reach out to any one of us here, any one of the directors. We can direct you to the, getting into the weeds, like you might say, because they're living this stuff every day too. A lot of these directors are, seeing this stuff day in, day out. So, but certainly give us a call.
Okay.
We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us.
Thank you very much.
If you don't have maybe you could share my cell phone if folks don't have it.
I think I have.
Okay,
Yeah.
just call me anytime, because oftentimes what happens at the session is things get crazy, and then all of a sudden we're negotiating behind closed doors on something, and you guys being able to just call me and say, I have an issue with this, or Kooch has an issue with this, it's helpful to get that information immediately, so don't hesitate to text or call me. Were you gonna say something?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Y'all got my number too. 21823.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate your
guys.
time.
I really appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Slam everything into an 8, so thank you for your time.
All right, good luck.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Well, thanks everyone for participating and being a part of it. Giving those the delegation that type of information is important. I really do think that they get a better feel for when they have it explained. I do. I know that. I appreciate it. So I think they do too. So they understand it a little bit better and understand really how it impacts everybody. So anybody else have any other public comment or anything? Hearing no public comment, is there any further business? I think we are good to go. I would ask, if there's no other business, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And we are adjourned.